It's Grandma Cheryl, and I chose another book. This one is Caps for Sale and the Mindful Monkeys. This might have happened next after those other books we read about monkeys. Let's see what happens. Caps for Sale and the Mindful Monkeys. Pezzo the peddler sold caps. But he was not like an ordinary peddler carrying his wares on his back. He carried them on top of his head. Every day he walked through the streets of town calling, "Caps! Caps for sale! 50 cents a cap!" Every night he sat on a bench in his yard and made caps. He made caps to sell, 50 cents a cap. The peddler had always enjoyed his quiet life, but things suddenly changed. Now, in the big tree in his backyard lived 16 monkeys. They had followed the peddler for 2 days, and for 2 nights they had slept in the tree. And this morning the monkeys were still there. "You monkeys, you," the peddler said, shaking his finger at them. "You must go home." But the peddlers only shook their fingers at him and said, "Tss, tss, 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 tss." Today the peddler was going to visit his friend Essie. Essie was wise. She would know what to do about the monkeys. The peddler started up the dirt road. The monkeys started up the dirt road too. Right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, all in step. When the peddler reached Essie's porch, he pulled on the bell chain outside her door. The sound of the bell startled the monkeys and they scattered. Oh, look how scared they are. Oh, my goodness. "Greetings, my friend," Essie said, as the peddler hurried past. "No time for greetings," the peddler wailed. "I am in trouble. I need help. I am being followed by 16 monkeys who will not go home." Essie was an artist. Pointing to a chair with her paintbrush, she said calmly, "Sit down and tell me what is happening." Essie painted while she listened. As the peddler recounted his story, his temper rose. "I told them to go home. The monkeys must go home," he shouted, and he stomped his feet. Essie's cat Scaramouche, here's little Scaramouche, sprang to the top of the chest of drawers, hissing, "Sss, sss." The peddler eyed Scaramouche. He stopped shouting and sat down. He put his head in his hands. "Sometimes we decide something is no good before we have given it a chance," Essie said. The peddler replied, "I don't understand. Perhaps the monkeys will go home. Perhaps they will not. Are they doing anything wrong?" "No," admitted the peddler. "Sometimes what we don't want is exactly what we need," Essie pointed out. "Go home," Essie said. "See what comes to pass." The peddler frowned. "I won't like what comes to pass," he said. "Nonsense," Essie replied. "You cannot dislike what hasn't happened yet. It's just not possible." The peddler left Essie's house. She chuckled as she watched the monkeys follow her friend. Right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, all in step. That night after work, the peddler sat in his backyard making caps. The monkeys were busy too. Some were scratching their bellies, some were combing their hair, some were eating their supper, and all were looking at him. The peddler threaded a needle. Then he reached for a piece of cloth. He pulled the needle through the cloth, in and out and around. He skillfully made a cap. The peddler placed the cap in the trunk by his bench. Then he looked up at the monkeys. "I watch you, and you watch me," he said. The monkeys replied, "Tss, tss, 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 tss." Suddenly the peddler's phone rang. The news was sad. A friend from another town was sick. The peddler said he would come right away. Oh my, he thought. I have enough money to travel and help, but no time to make caps to sell tomorrow. I hope I have not gone too long. After the peddler left, the monkeys waited for him. They waited for him to return and make the caps. The moon came up. No peddler. The sun came up. No peddler. The moon came up. No peddler. The monkeys eyed the needles and thread. They gazed at the pieces of cloth, and they looked at the open trunk. No caps. They were very mindful monkeys. So what do you think they did? This one says, what should we do? Something must be very wrong. The peddler did not come home. Oh my goodness, look at this. One by one, the monkeys descended from the tree. They remembered how the peddler pulled thread through the needles. Some monkeys pulled thread through the needles. They remembered how the peddler pulled the needles through the cloth. Some monkeys pulled the needles through the cloth. They remembered how the needles went in and out and around, and soon the trunk began to fill with caps. Gray caps, brown caps, blue caps, and red caps. When they had sewn every piece of cloth, the monkeys climbed up slowly into the tree. They were very tired, and they quickly fell to sleep. Late that night, the peddler came home. He was very tired, too. But his friend was much better, and that was important. The peddler was worried. He had no money left, and it was too late to make caps to sell tomorrow. He went outside to sit and think. And what do you think he saw? He looked to the right. Caps. He looked to the left. Caps. He looked behind him. Caps. He looked beside the tree. More caps. Gray caps, brown caps, blue caps, red caps. I don't remember making these caps, the peddler thought to himself. I must have forgotten. But surely I did not make so many. Do you think the peddler forgot that he made all these caps? The peddler looked into the tree. The monkeys seemed exhausted. They were drooped over the branches like old clothes. Some were even snoring. The peddler scratched his head and wondered. He looked up again. A piece of red thread was hanging from a monkey's foot. Oh my goodness, look at that. He said to himself, and he began to pick up the caps. I think. And the next morning, when the peddler left for work, the monkeys did not follow him. As he began calling, caps for sale, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap, he felt very alone, and he wondered why. He thought about the pile of caps that he found last night. He thought about the snoring monkeys still asleep in his tree. He thought, and then he thought some more. Suddenly, Essie's wise words were in his mind. Sometimes what we don't want is exactly what we need. And now he knew what she was trying to tell him. 4 children approached the peddler. Where are your monkeys? They asked. They are not my monkeys, the peddler replied. Then he added quickly, but they are my friends. And that night when the peddler came home, he had with him a big bunch of bananas. Oh, and the end. Do you think the monkeys are going to be happy to eat some bananas? They're probably so hungry after sleeping all day. So this is a picture of Essie on the next page. All right.